Everyone, welcome back to Coffee with Craner. This is episode 138, and today I'm here with Andrew J. Smith at Deerbrook Realty, the Andrew J. Smith real estate team. He's been a real estate broker for 18 years, and over 6 years ago, he started his own team at Deerbrook, and they really dabble in everything, from large-scale condo and townhouse projects all over Windsor, Essex, and Lakeshore, and many, many other places. His 21-member team actually produces and sells over 250 to 300 homes per year, so they're very, very busy. And today we're in the beautiful Walker Power Building on Riverside Drive. Spectacular space. We're on the 5th floor. Beautiful views. If you could see what we're looking at right now, you'd be jealous for sure. But Andrew, thank you so much for your time today. I'm excited to talk about your career in real estate.
Yeah. So interesting enough, I think I started just like everybody else did. I was just serving tables, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I was working at Spago, a local restaurant here. They do a great job. A little plug there for them. And then, to be honest, I just love the service industry. And my background's a bit of construction with my family, so I ended up getting into it. And honestly, it's just kind of snowballed, but. Yeah, I started one person at Valente Real Estate originally, went over to Deerbrook, and then the girls took care of me from there. But they've done a great job, really great job.
So was any of your family in real estate before?
No. My father, it's funny because my father basically was just into everything. I mean, he had worked for Smith Brothers Excavating, which is our family, of course, and then he worked for Dominic Amiconi. Mm-hmm. And then so he did a lot of work for him, and he just kind of brokered a lot of deals. So it was funny because I said, my dad's a real estate agent before I was a real estate agent, but he never had his license. He just kind of brokered deals between friends and people, and did a lot of development type stuff. Hence why I kind of gravitated towards it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And was there somebody that you said you're waiting tables at the time?
Yeah.
Did somebody pull you in and say, "Hey, Andrew, we got a career in real estate. Let's start it up"?
Yeah, you know what? I had a couple people approach me because, you run into people in life and you say, you know what? I think you'd be really good in real estate. And there was some people that came to me before, but it frankly was just, it was out of kind of just sheer coincidence. I was actually going to school to be a teacher, mm-hmm. as crazy as that sounds. And something happened with a house that I had owned, and then I ended up actually selling it. And I love selling it so much, I just said, well, maybe this is the career for me. So, and sure enough, it was.
Were you a realtor when you sold your house?
No, I was. So what happened was I had the house up actually for sale. I was going back to school to be a teacher. And then lo and behold, you can't make this up. The house burned down. You can't make this up. It burned down. So
while you were selling?
I was selling it and it burned down. So I'm sure people probably thought I did something, bad, but I swear I didn't. But anyway, sure enough, what ended up happening was I ended up having the ability to sell the lot. And so when I sold the lot, I was dealing with all these older people, developers and builders and that, and I loved it so much. I was like, this is my calling. So it's funny how a negative turned into a positive, right?
Yes.
Something like that was bad, really bad at the time. But it turned out to be a really positive thing, and then I ended up in real estate. It's crazy.
And it was 2009, 2006?
2006-ish. I got my license and kind of started like everybody else did, like really kind of slow and kind of just, picking up from like family, friends, stuff like that. But it was inevitable that I just got maybe that opportunity. And I think once I had that opportunity, which was Mastercraft, which is one of my builders, once I got that opportunity to interview for them, that was it. I think it basically took off from there, had a couple projects, and just really enjoyed it. Like, I still enjoy it, as crazy as that sounds. That's nuts.
And how did you land Mastercraft? What was that interview process
Well,
like?
The funny thing is my father actually had called me in the morning. I was the true story is I was out the night before. I was out late, by the way. And what happened was my father called me in the morning and said, hey, get up. The owner's going to pick you up in his car, and he's going to drive you down Banwell, and you're going to have an interview. And I'm like, this is not normal, but whatever. And so I climb in the car, and sure enough, we go through what is now Aspen Lake. So if you know Aspen Lake in East Riverside, but there were no streets there. And the gentleman's name is Al Finelli, and he has since passed on, unfortunately, but great man. And you know what? He picked me up, and here we are. We're driving through, and he had a white Buick, like just a regular Buick. And we were driving through what were not roads, and I'm bouncing in the background, and he's asking me questions. And I know you don't know Al, but if you know Al, anybody knows Al. He talks like fast, and his mind always, or his mouth moves faster than his mind.
Yeah.
So you'd have to pick up on what he'd say. Anyways, I did the interview. It was probably 20 minutes. By the time I was done I was dirt roads, by the way. So, but anyway, it all worked out. I got the opportunity, and I did well by it, I guess.
How did you impress him?
You know what? I don't even know if I impressed him, really. I mean, I think he knew my father. He knew my father's work ethic. I think he knew, at least he might have met me enough to know that I just was, I don't know, a good human being, I guess. Yeah. And I was willing to work and do what was required to make a sale. And I don't even think he knew that I had any type of a customer service experience type thing. But, once I got in that scenario and got that opportunity and then kind of took from there, it just kind of jet. And I obviously love building. I love the construction side of it. Mm-hmm. I was out at the site every day watching how they were building, pouring concrete, doing everything. So I learned a lot about the process at the same time. So I was interested in it. And so I think it made things a heck of a lot easier to do that. So.
And for you, was the goal to create a team one day? Did you know at that time?
No, I didn't. No, not at all. I was just trying to make a buck, man. I mean, really, to be honest with you, I tell the story. My visa was $25,000. I didn't have a dollar to my name. I was scrounging like everybody else was because I was just starting in real estate. And if you start in real estate, trust me, there's not a lot of money to be made off the bat. Now, maybe in the last couple of years, people can be more successful quicker. But back in those days, it was a grind, right? It was the average price was, $159,000. You know what I mean? You had to sell a multitude of homes to make money. So, but eventually it got to the point where I started to be so busy that I needed people to kind of take some of my leads, mm-hmm. right? Where maybe I would try to take, 30 leads or something. But the problem is that eventually one or two people would kind of I would lose them, right? And so I quickly learned that I don't want to do that. That doesn't make any sense. So I need to bring in other people that can just take over the stuff that maybe kind of falls off my plate a little bit. And it's worked out quite well.
And for a realtor, what do you think is manageable, like on your own, like your own book of business? What can somebody realistically manage before perhaps sharing with others?
Yeah, and I think I was a little bit different in the fact that I always want as much as I can handle, and maybe I push that a little bit with as many builders as we represent. But I think once it gets to the point that, yet again, you're dealing with people and you want to deliver customer service, excellent customer service. And when you start to feel like that's slipping a little bit, then I think that's when somebody needs to come in and kind of help out a little bit. Yeah. And I mean, as much control as I enjoy, you have to trust in people that you've trained them well enough that they're going to do well. And luckily enough, we've had a good team. Like, we have a great team here, and I'm very, very happy with who we have, and they do a great job. Always working hard. So it's good.
And was there somebody that trained you when you first started?
No, not at all. So I was, and Lyndon, I know you're younger than me for sure, buddy. But so back in the day, they had MLS books. Yeah, I don't know. You probably don't even know.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah, you probably.
I've never seen this archaic.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'd like somebody to produce one because it would be funny. But anyway, MLS books. They literally gave me an MLS book. I remember I went to Valente, and Fred Shaw was the guy's name. He was the sales manager. And I said, Fred, I go, what do I do? I got my license. What do you do? He goes, I don't know, go make money. And I said, what? And then, so I think he was like, yeah, what do like your job is to go out and, whatever. And I'm sure, Fred gave me some tools, but it was really on your own. And so no joke, I took the MLS book. I would go to Tim Hortons on Dougal. I would open it up. I would get a coffee. And what I would do is I would wait until someone would inevitably ask me about real estate, because they would see the MLS book out. I would have my cards kind of out. And it was sort of like guerrilla marketing, sort of. And I would be there, and someone would inevitably walk up, and they'd go, hey, because guess what? They didn't have it online. And so they would say, well, what did that house sell for on, ask him. And I would say, well, let me flip to the page. And I'd say, you know what? Let me buy you a coffee. Why don't you sit down with me for a minute? Let's talk about whatever. And so believe it or not, that's how I started. That's how I was actually picking up business. And yet again, you're too young, is phone books. So we used to cold call people, just like people cold call now. And I would cold call people and say, hey, are you thinking of buying and selling, in the next 6 months or something, and whatever our line was. Yeah. And we would try to get business that way.
And what are your thoughts on cold calling now? If you're a new agent.
Yeah, I don't, cold calling, I don't think, because, with the evolution of cell phones and no one really has a home line anymore or whatever, I think cold calling is obviously passé. But what I teach my agents is walking neighborhoods, providing, letters of some sort, to say that, hey, I'm looking in the area, or we have buyers looking in the area. And 9 times out of 10, we actually do have buyers looking in that area. Yeah. So it's always good. Like, I just had actually one of our sales agents walk a street in East Riverside, because one of my ladies, we had written an offer, didn't get it. We unfortunately weren't the highest offer, but she is in a good position. So I ended up having him walk the entire street and provide letters to people, but not just provide letters, knock on the door, have them come to the door. If they're not comfortable with it, no problem. Put it in the door and say, hey, just so you know, we do actually have a buyer. And no joke, that's not a lie. We actually do have a buyer.
Yes.
So it's our opportunity to obviously try to, get business, pick up business, but also help our clients as well. So
yes.
it's double. It works double, right?
Yeah, you might get a listing out of it as well. Right?
Who knows? So,
right.
Yeah.
And how's it been with the team and everything? What's that experience been like?
Good. I mean, I feel like I joke. I say I'm like the dad of the group, right? Like, they're all my kind of children, but it does feel like that. And for us, it's a family. It is a true family. Everybody knows each other on a different level. Yes, we understand it's business, but we also understand and respect each other in terms of life. So we get very involved in everybody's, life, and you get to know everybody, and people having babies and whatever. And that's fantastic, because to me, that's exactly what it should be, right? It should be a family. That's how we treat it. And, just like you would your kids or whatever, sometimes you gotta, tell them that they're not doing well, and then at the same time, you gotta pat them on the back when they're killing it, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the idea, and so far so good. Like I said, everybody's doing well, so I got nothing to complain about, I guess.
One of the toughest things that I hear from people that are interviewing is building a company or building a team, finding the right people.
Mm-hmm.
What's that process like for you?
Yeah, to be honest, we turn down a lot of people. We do. We turn down a lot of people, but truth is, what I'm really looking for is I'm looking for some similarities to maybe myself and how I operate my business. And then, so by doing that, there's going to be those characteristics, the things that I know that I'm good at. I mean, there's a reason why, and yet again, I'm not being cocky or arrogant, but I know at the end of the day, I've done very, very well for myself. And I know that I started from absolutely nothing. So I know that I had some traits. I know I have traits that I think are traits that can make people successful. So for me to look into them and see those traits and say, okay, you may not be the same as me, but maybe you're better at this, maybe I'm better at this, but you're better at that, and then I can help you, with those things that maybe you're not as good at, and maybe I can teach you those tools. So everybody's been great. but it has been like anything else. It's a learning experience. I mean, and there's trials and errors. You know, we've had other team members had joined me early, where we kind of brought them in thinking, well, you know, I'm going to bring in somebody that has a load of experience, for example, thinking that would work, and that didn't quite pan out.
Sometimes they're less coachable. Right?
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's true. In a lot of ways, sometimes they're set in the ways, and that's okay. But the truth is that if you really want to get, you know, to that next level, then you have to be willing and eager to learn to get to that next level. And sometimes people want it, some people don't, and that's understandable. But if you do want to get there, that's what I'm here for. I'd be the one to provide that to you, make sure that you actually can achieve that goal.
So you mentioned, you know, attracting people that understand how you operate your business, and you're similar in certain ways. How would you say, like, you would operate it? Like, how do you work as a person?
Sure. Well, I mean, for me, you know, yet again, everybody does their business a little bit differently. You know, where I am very client and very customer service based. And yet again, there's other realtors out there that maybe are more data based, right? You know, where they focus on data and things like that.
Yep.
For us and for me specifically, it is number one, it's all about customer service. It's all about the client. It's taking care of them. And frankly, it's about doing those things that probably most people don't want to do, or most realtors don't want to do. That's what we focus on, right? So you want to focus on those things to make sure that people are taken care of. Don't worry about that. Let us handle it. Are you sure? Yes. You know, and this is one of the reasons why we brought on people like a handyman, you know, or a handy person to go in and do maintenance work, cleaning staff, people that come in and clean the home prior to, you know, say them closing on it, or if they need help with it after, you know, where they've sold the property. It's just little details. A plumber, an electrician, you know, it's providing service. And as we get more into, you know, let's just say online type stuff, truth is that's what you got to still focus on. I think maybe it's a lost art, I think, in a way, but I think that's why we are successful, because yet again, focus on that, take care of your client. I mean, the rest kind of speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm. And what catches my attention with your team is the marketing as well.
Yeah.
Some of the videos are hilarious. The one where you're driving in like an old van.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of fun, and I think bringing on people that are full time. You know, we do have a full time social media person. We have a full time videographer, photographer. I mean, this is the evolution of real estate, right? So that's where it's going. Yes, I mean, yet again, we talk about, hey, let's try to do the customer service thing, but let's also try to provide value in terms of marketing, advertising, videos. And yeah, I know that video maybe had nothing to do with real estate per se. I mean, it was more about my life when I first started in terms of real estate. But what I think people gravitate to is the fact that even though we've done well and you know, we continue to do well and we continue to help, but we're not stuffy, we're not stuck up, we're not whatever. We're willing to sell any house. You know what I mean? You got a mobile home, you got a whatever. We're willing to sell it. I want to sell anything. And I think that's the idea, is that we always want to keep ourselves open to anyone. And we don't take ourselves too seriously, I guess is the point, is that, you know, you can have fun, you know, and at the same time, you know, still do well.
Yes.
I mean, there's nothing greater than that, I guess.
Two final questions for you.
Sure.
The first one is, where do you want to see your team in the next 5 to 10 years? What's on the horizon for you?
Yeah, so obviously, you know, you see this beautiful building. I mean, we went into that space on the 3rd floor. What we really want to see is us kind of expand beyond even what we're at now, which is more development, you know, condo buildings and subdivisions and this and that. And we started into that, you know, when the market was really, really hot. I know the market kind of slowed down a little bit, so some of that got shelved a little bit, but you're going to see that pick back up again. And it's one of the reasons why we even have this space, is because we're prepped, we're ready to go for development type stuff. People can come in, pick and choose their own stuff and this and that. So it was about the space, but then also to my team, it's more about creating avenues that for them, selfishly, that I'm trying to create a revenue stream, not just for myself, but for them as well. And so I don't want to just do well. I want them to do well. How do we do that? Well, of course, it's me, the creator. I have to go in and do that and to ensure that they're going to do well. Now, further to that, to see some of these people that I've helped, over the last 2-3 years, especially this year, to find their feet, to start to see them do well on their own when they don't need my guidance and they don't need my help. And I started to see some of that even in the last 1.5 to 2 years, where some of the group has already succeeded. They don't need me anymore. But some of the other, people or whatever sales agents are starting to come to that now. And that's where I want to see my team grow. And honestly, we might end up closer to, like, in the next 2 years, maybe closer to 50. And that's probably where I see it. But that's probably the max I would want to see it. I don't think I would want to be any bigger than that, just because it's tough to control, and it's tough to keep that level of service with everyone and with that many, sales agents. Because to be honest, you don't want to just hire anyone, right? You want to make sure that you have the right people there that are going to follow, the lead in doing well. So
your reputation could be very quickly damaged.
100%. Yeah. That to me is more important than any amount of money. I don't care. And I've said this numerous times to my group too. It's not about the money, guys. It really isn't. That will come. Focus on yourself, focus on the customer service, but also reputation is everything. There's times that even in the past, I talked about when I first got hired by, say, Mastercraft, for example, we had some issues, with something on a development or something, and I had to give up a lot of money that, frankly, I didn't have the money for. But I did it because reputation. That was more important than anything else. I said, hey, this is going to be this way, and it turned out it wasn't. I honored that, and I took care of that. Why? Because it's all about, that reputation, obviously, and being who you are.
Absolutely. Final question for you. I ask this a lot on the show. If a young Andrew J. walked through the door, what would you say to him? What advice would you provide? Even if it wasn't an Andrew J., a young realtor walks in, what would you say?
Yeah. I think a normal reaction would be like, run. It would be the normal reaction. I would say slowly but surely would be the answer I would give, and do things just progressively. You don't think in any world that you're going to come in and just light it up right away. It's great if it happens, but please don't think that it's going to happen that way. It is one of those things where you have to put in your time, put in your effort, and eventually it does go together. But you do have to put the time and the effort in. I mean, I know it's tough. Everybody struggles with it. Everybody struggles with getting up and being like, oh man, I really don't want to do that. You got to do it, but it's beneficial for you in the long run. So the only thing I would ever tell a young sales agent, frankly, is, and a lot of people had negative things when I first came in. They're like, well, you're too young. You can't, I'll never say that. Listen, at the end of the day, it's up to the sales agent. It's up to them to really work hard, put the time in. Really work your ends, and you know what? Eventually, you can succeed. But the level of commitment is got to be there. There's no question.
100%. Yeah, I agree. Thank you very much, Andrew. This was fantastic. And if you're a young realtor or you're in sales, I really think you're going to enjoy this interview. And if you want to watch it over again, or you have maybe just caught the last end of it, visit coffeewithcrainer.com. Thanks so much for tuning in.